Okay, welcome back. We are here running week 3 scene cards in our screenwriting bootcamp, which is our 8-week program that takes you all the way from idea to finished draft of a brand new script, whether it's for a TV pilot or for a feature. Quick note, we mentioned before, we are a non-profit and we are looking to pay some yearly costs. You can find more and donate at our website, which is skillca.mp. Here are the links to donate and volunteer and view the schedule. But we've gotten some great donations so far, which has helped pay off some of our the streaming software that we're using to broadcast simultaneously to YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch and Facebook and all these places like this. So we've paid some of those costs. Thank you guys so much who have donated already. We still have more costs, so we really, really would just need your guys' continuing support to keep this going. 5 years of script camp and hopefully many more. So check that out. Our website, skillca.mp. And if you have not yet signed up for the bootcamp of your choice, it's going to be scriptca.mp/bootcamp or wordca.mp/bootcamp. And that takes you right to this sign up page. Yay, look at all these names. So this is everyone that's already signed up for the upcoming session of the February 2026. That's this current session. Screenwriting Bootcamp. I see some folks from the list, but not all of them. They got to get over here. And then the other one is wordca.mp/bootcamp, which should take you to the novel sign-up page. Again, all you do is type your name and email address in there. And wow, look at, we have even more names on there. So good to see. So that will get you instant access to those member channels and bring you right into our bootcamp group. All right. So we are on screenwriting today, though, and we are looking at more outlining and plotting. So much of what we do is outlining and plotting that we spend the first entire half of this program on only that sort of task. We will have the opportunity to look at loglines today if you have them, but ideally you've got story beats at this point, at least something, and you're moving towards working those out into scene cards or writing those out into scene cards. So the progression goes from logline, sketchbook, story beats, scene cards, and then pages. That's how I do it at least. And often there might be a one sheet sort of in between there. So I don't usually do a full unit on one sheets, but they are really, really useful. I would consider it somewhat of an advanced skill just because like you don't really have to be writing them out, but it can be really good practice. So I recommend trying them out. I have done classes on them. You can find recordings of those. Okay, so we'll start with check-in, and then I will ask, does anyone need to have your logline looked at, or do you have any story beats questions that we may not look at everyone's pages or outlines right away, but once we do some lecture slides, then we'll open the floor and we'll have some time to look at those outlines and make sure that they're shaping up well. So let's look at our overview. We'll start with check-in. We'll look at structure review, some common structure issues. We're not going to go through probably every single beat of structure today, but we will be able to answer any questions on it. And we'll talk just more broadly about plotting and how to get from scene to scene to scene. We will have some space for exercises as well, and perhaps even some plotting of a fake movie. Fake movie? It's I guess they're all fake movies until they're produced, right? Plotting on a sample story that I have for us to work on. All right, let's go ahead into our check-in. So we're going to ask, where's the progress on your project? Do you have a logline, story beats, or what do you have? And then tell us about the recent reading you've been doing. Okay, we'll start with Becky.
I haven't had a chance to rewrite the log line from when we looked at it yesterday. So I won't be producing that today because it's the same as you read yesterday. I Because we're working on a TV show rather than a film, me and my writing partner are focusing mostly on the characters. Particularly in the UK, when you submit they're for this kind of thing because it's more of a serial. They're for the people want to submit to, they're really big, like on the submitting the TV Bible with like the detailed character studies and things like that. So we're working on that. I also am working on the beats of the first episode, so I would love if we get a chance later to have a look at them.
Yeah, we'll have time.
So and yeah, that's where I'm at. We're also looking at some BBC scripts.
Oh, okay. What are you reading?
It was It was an older one. I got hold of the script for Tom Brown's School Days, which was because the setting is similar to mine. Um, I'm trying, it's not BBC, it's ITV, but I'm trying to find any of the Downton Abbey scripts or The Crown because I feel like they'd be helpful just with like the writing or whatever, especially Downton Abbey with the lengths of the episodes. But they're proving harder for me to find. So
Right. Anything from around that time period will be good to check out. Um, I think Peaky Blinders is set right around that time too. Isn't that like post World War One as
yeah,
well? Like really similar,
yeah,
sort of like coming back from the war, trying to reintegrate into life kind of character arc. Worth checking out. It's a good show.
yeah,
Different genre though, much more violent than yours.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, not quite the same.
But still, good for
And
the like the
then,
dialect, the culture, the all that stuff.
yeah, and then I managed to get hold of some digital copies of some really old, like British etiquette books. So of the time, there was a lot of people trying to keep after the war, trying to get people to go back to the Victorian era, and then other people that are trying to be progressive. And so there were these books that was produced on how a gentleman should behave and things like that. So I've managed to like I'm just sort of reading through them because obviously that would be what the boys at this school would be being taught, how a
Yes.
gentleman should behave.
Right. And the idea of what a gentleman is was being reconstructed. Like the idea of
Yes.
masculinity after world wars had to sort of be like completely re-examined.
Well, one of the big things that we decided in this story is because my co-writer's American and America has such a different viewpoint to the UK, is the introduction of this American teacher because you've got the conflict of America. So when you look at these manuals, there are also manuals for Americans as well, and it's so different. Like Americans are a lot more person-centered or student-centered for teaching. There's all these manuals about how to teach kids from that era as well.
Right.
And there was this guy who was pushing in America student-centered teaching, while in the UK they were still doing everything by like rote and the dunce cap and the caning and
The dunce cap. That's my favorite trope. I've never seen that in real life, but I love it. All right.
I had to wear one, though not for real. We did a Victorian school day.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like it's common for kids to do Victorian school day, and because I was the idiot kid at school, they made me wear it all day.
Oh my God, that's brutal. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for
big
sharing.
schools
We'll
are
have time
cool.
to, well, it sounds like it. We'll have time to look at your outline later. Thank you for sharing. Let's hear from Dakota.
Uh, Currently, unable to talk at the moment too much. I'm not feeling super well, so I can.
All good. Okay. Feel free to update us in the text if you need to. I'm getting a bit sick myself. You can hear I'm losing my voice. Must be contagious. All right. Let's hear from Ivy.
So, I hope you both feel better soon. I'm also starting to feel a bit sick. I've
It
got a
is
bit of a
contagious.
sore throat. Uh,
Now it's almost a movie plot line when a virus starts to
uh,
spread through social media. Hmm.
yeah.
All right. What's you
Um,
got? Looks like you've got a new log line, new idea, new project.
yeah. So yeah. Uh, I had an idea for a story while I was at a friend's house, and I just thought, what if? And so I had this idea a while ago, and I sort of developed it while I was at a friend's house. It was like, what if people are on this compelled to go on this walk and they know they're going to die at the end? How are they going to like be around each other? Um, and I thought, well, there might not be enough excitement, so I thought I was going to add supernatural horrors into it as well. Um, so that's pretty much what I've got
Okay.
there.
Do you want to review it right now?
But yeah, sure.
Can you read it out?
Yeah. Uh, After a nurse is supernaturally compelled to walk to her death, she must find a way to get on with her companions and avoid monsters to reach her destination.
Okay. Thank you for that. And do you know what the comps might be?
No.
Okay. Do you think The Long Walk might be on there?
I've not seen The Long Walk, so I wouldn't.
Sounds long walky. It sounds long walky.
Right, right. Long Walk has no fantasy element to it, but it's a Stephen King book slash movie. I think it was one of his first books. And it is set in sort of a dystopian 70s America where the government has a Hunger Games type program where every year, I believe, they get like 2 kids from every state to do a big death march, basically. And the rules are you have to keep walking. There's no finish line. It's just an endurance test. And you have to just walk along a predetermined path and people sort of like wait and watch alongside of the road like it's a big marathon basically, but once you get so exhausted that you don't make the time or you don't keep up in pace, there's just guys with rifles that just shoot you. So that's the zero fantasy version of this, I guess. Maybe that could be a comp to check out and to sort of see how that sort of premise could work, because it seems like it's not an easy storyline to write or type of movie to make. Having to be on the go constantly like that. It's almost like a play and at some points. I would check it out. I think it's actually pretty well done, the recent movie.
Thanks.
In terms of your logline, I'm not quite seeing the cause and effect. Or let's just go back to the questions of what's going on here. So, a nurse is supernaturally compelled to walk to her death. So, does that mean like in any direction, or as you say to her destination? So, how does she know what her destination is? Is she sort of walking to a specific point?
They sort of know the direction, and
Who's they?
I just sort of, uh, because it's her and a group of people that all have this compulsion.
Oh, a group of people.
Um,
Okay. Well, I would start with that. So you didn't tell us about the companions till the end of the logline, but that sounds kind of important. So it sounds like when a nurse and a group of what, like 5 strangers or something like that, might be a way into that,
Yeah.
are all compelled on the same journey. They're all on the same sort of forced death march. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I think I get it. But so how do we know there is a destination?
Um, I think so. In the, do you mean in the log line or in the story itself?
Well, I guess let me ask first in terms of the story so I can determine if it should be in the logline.
So they, as I said, they all know that they have to walk, and they mention this at the beginning that it's like this idea that they're walking and they know they're going to die at the end of it, but they don't really have a clear idea of what that location will be. They just know it's like a direction that they have to go. And I sort of have the idea for the final scene of the film being just they get to like the seaside and we just sort of get a shot of the sea and that's it, kind of thing.
Okay.
But
So is this sort of like a dream logic kind of like extended metaphor or something like that? Or do you have a sense of what would really be going on here?
I thought, yeah, so it's sort of like it sort of the idea is like the idea of like in life we're sort of going on this long journey to death, but they're doing it in such a short amount of time, and like does it how it changes how they react to things, because it's like instead of having their life to like live, they've got like about a week, and like the death is so much more hanging over them, if that makes sense.
I guess it does, but it sort of undercuts the stakes because you say they're going to die at the end. Why is it that important that they dodge these monsters then? I mean, if they get killed by a monster or they get killed in a couple days, it still seems it seems like there's no possibility that any of them could get out of that, right?
It's sort of this feeling that they get this feeling that they so in some ways like the monsters are like representations of like hell, and so you don't want to you want to die when you're supposed to die rather than like die early and be sort of killed by these sort of horrific creatures rather
Okay.
than just sort of
I see what you mean metaphorically, but like
Yeah.
dramatically for the purposes of the movie, it's sort of hard to understand, like, especially for a full feature that Like especially with your characters just knowing something, it's sort of tough to convey that. That's like a very dream logic kind of thing. It's hard to like buy into and believe that and fully understand the stakes of it sometimes. So you might want to think, is there some sort of guide or like who's enforcing the rules on this, or who's the one? Is there some other entity that is able to give them more information somehow? It can be useful, especially in the kind of death game genre, which this is almost that, but without the idea that there's a winner, it's not really a death game. So like it's a little bit tough to understand the stakes. Um, and it might like fans of stuff like monsters and death, like supernatural death marches and stuff, usually want to watch a story with concrete stakes. It's a little strange to pull me into something that feels almost like a creature feature and then say, well, it doesn't really matter if they get killed by the creatures, right?
So I do have like other supernatural sort of elements as well. Like they come across a man in the woods who has a bunch of tarot cards, and I'm not sure if he's like death or the devil or he's something like that. And he sort of gives them a little bit of information in a cryptic way before they go back on their way.
Do you think
And
it
so
might
I
work
might have.
if they just don't know they're going to die? Sorry to cut you off. You can finish that thought.
That's good. It would change the whole sort of premise of the film, because the whole idea is like they know they're going to die, and so it's how they're. Some of them have chosen to change. Some of them have chosen to, like be worse, because it's like, oh well, there's one guy who's like an asshole, but he's like, well, I know I can be more of an asshole now because it doesn't matter because I'm gonna die, so I may as well enjoy life while I can.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but like, don't you think there'd be a lot more tension if they weren't sure? Like maybe, for instance, some of them like they might have had like a vision of death, and then some of them have interpreted that to mean that we're definitely going to die. But if it's even arguable, I think it adds a lot of tension to the story. That it's like maybe there's a way we could get out of this. Like, I don't know. It's up to you. I mean, you haven't designed it as a thriller, I guess. This sounds a bit more sort of philosophical, art house, experimental, rather than more of a horror thriller. And my mind just hears monsters and death marches, and I want it to be a horror thriller, I guess. It feels like the stakes are just kind of low. You can do what you want with that. I mean, maybe that could still work as like a metaphor, but like viewers of movies with monsters typically want the monsters to be scary and dangerous, I guess I would just say.
Okay, I do think maybe having a bit of where it's like they interpret it that they might die, but they aren't fully sure.
Yeah, could that work? Maybe your main character is the one who thinks maybe like has to sort of come to accept death, and that would build in like a nice arc for the character. Like if they already
Yeah.
know from the very beginning, then they have to accept it as of page one, as opposed to maybe them slowly realizing that they have to accept it or finding a way to accept it.
Well, that would make sense because like her father was like a prepper, like a doomsday prepper, and so he spent her whole life sort of finding ways to try and get them to survive. And so I'd imagine that like need to survive would probably be quite built into her because of instilled into her by her father. So that might make it interesting where she's like part of her sort of knows she's going to die, but she doesn't want to fully accept that, and the others might be like a little bit like that as well.
Sure. Yeah, that can work. I would give that version a shot. Just because knowing exactly what the conclusion is going to be definitively at the start, just doesn't leave it leaves like there's certain stories that can work like that. I'm thinking of stuff like Comet Destroys the World sort of movies like Don't Look Up or like Deep Impact or Seeking Your Friend for the End of the World, things like that, the Steve Carell movie. And those make really good use of that idea of we all have to deal with the inevitable death kind of thing. But in your character's case, if all they're acting on is a supernatural impulse, then it does allow you to leave a little bit of that room for that ambiguity and maybe a little bit more tension that way. Hope that helps.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that. Feel free to take another adjustment to the logline, or maybe just carry that forward into your story beats, however you would like. Okay, let's hear from Conrad.
Okay, so I have a log line. This is round 3, good sir.
Great. Okay.
Lo- Log line. Title, The Cradle. Format, feature. Genre, sci-fi. Comps, Moon, and I Am Mother. The log line is when a slave clone on a generation ship reaches her limits of abuse, she finds herself as the point man of a centuries-long struggle to overthrow the controlling AI and find a new future for humanity before her lifespan taps out.
Ooh, well done. The one thing is watch out for she finds herself as, which kind of makes it sound like she didn't actually make a choice. But is she making a choice?
Yeah. Um, not not fully fleshed out. Not fully fleshed out to answer that question.
Okay, but you could make it could be as simple as she must become. You know what I mean? Even that sounds like it's urgent and important, and she must have agency to do that. So,
Yes.
yeah, your main character always should be making, those active choices to drive the story forward. So just don't make it, I just would avoid making it sound like the story happens to her, like it's things that are out of
Mm.
her control or just occurring, passively. So, but you're really close. I get all the rest of it, that it all adds up and makes sense, and I can totally see it.
The difference I made, and I would like to ask you about this, is um, I've had my cold open run through people and they loved it. And I had like my debut of the character like run through and they loved it. It was like violent and messed up. But like then the next like 9 pages were just like boring. People were just like bored with it. So I was like, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. I love my opening. I love my ending. Everything in between, I don't care. I'll do whatever. It's just soup to me. So I went from like a Miyazaki style, like slow, cold, like draw to like the climax. And I just went like straight up like basically they're in a concentration camp right now. Like I totally broke all bunch of my own rules. I
The
I,
clones?
I would like to ask your I'm sorry?
Who's in that camp? The clones?
The clones, yes,
Oh,
yes, yes. So they're basically just a bunch of slave clones working to keep working for the evil AI and
right.
like do whatever it's supposed to be done. And before I was going to be like, oh, hey, the AI is good. You don't know if he's a bad guy. But now, because I was told there was not enough tension in my next 9 pages, I was like, okay, let me dial it up to 11. Like it's a concentration camp now,
Oh,
and
just
just
you
like
mean
make
just
it
making
just
the conditions worse?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Um, I would like to ask you, like, is is that a good how would you respond to that choice if someone made that? Because it's like, hey, there was not enough tension, so now let me dial it up to 11 and just make it completely messed up.
Hmm.
Like, how am I abandoning my original idea? I don't think I am, because the middle part doesn't matter. It's the opening and the beginning that matter.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I just don't know how to like
There's quite a
navigate
bit.
further.
Yeah, there's quite a bit in between. So, in fact, like 100, it's like most 100 pages in between, depending
Yes,
on your word count. So quite important. But it's good that you've identified that and you're self-aware enough to understand what's working and what's not. I'd have to see the outline to really know if that change how that fits into everything because I just don't even know any scenes from this. But I will
right.
say that it sounds like it's a good instinct. Like if you feel that there's not enough tension in the opening, you're not really pulling people in enough, then it may be because there's not enough conflict your character doesn't feel strongly motivated.
Mhm.
It seems like everything's happening as we expect it to happen. There's all kinds of sort of like feelings the readers can get that might lead to that note. So adding, making them in, putting them in worse conditions, giving your character a stronger want from the beginning, and amping up the conflict all sound like good ideas to me. So it doesn't seem like you're overthinking that. That could be a viable solution, but I just have to see the outline to be sure.
Dope. Thank you. Okay,
Sure.
cool, cool. That's all I needed to know. Thank you so much, Connor. Yeah, I'm good.
No problem. All right, thank you for sharing. Okay, who else? Luke.
Hello, you've already seen my log line. I have um, story beats. I have scene cards that are not quite finished because of Act 3. I have some editing to do around a particular plot point that I changed, and I have pages already, so
Great.
I have all the things.
Okay,
And
everything
I
going
did
well then?
not. Everything's going well. I did not read a screenplay, though I have one on my list before the next script spotlight. I will read. I don't even remember what it is.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that. Shazadi, go ahead.
Um, so yeah, you've seen my log line. It's for obsolescence. I'm just still working on the outline. I did start the scene cards just to get my head into everything recently, but like I mean I'm still working on the outline, and I um specifically focused this week on cleaning things up until break into two. Because I know before I was kind of having trouble defining my protagonist goals or making them more explicit in the story. So I've revised that, and I've just kind of gone up to break into two now in terms of planning.
Okay. Well, glad to look at the
And
outline if you need. But do you think it's going well?
okay. Yeah, I think I made progress this week. I've made some changes as well to the protagonist's like backstory, but yeah, I think I've cleaned it up, but we'll see.
Okay, glad to hear it. Thank you for that. Did I miss anyone? Colin, do you want to give us an update on your progress? Okay, maybe you stepped away. All good. Feel free to let us know if you are able to. All right, so we're at the point where we're ready to hopefully start scene cards, moving ahead from your early pre-writing and outlining into scene cards. So today, we'll be able to speak to those structural questions and plotting and breaking the story, and can also give feedback on story beats. Hopefully you have it at less than 5 pages. Like 3 pages is perfect. 1 to 3 pages for the story beats. You can do all that you need. And a one sheet is even easier, considering a one sheet is a deliverable, meaning that it's intended to be read by other people. The difference between a deliverable and a pre-writing document is that your pre-writing documents can feature as much jargon and shorthand as you want. But a deliverable always means that it is intended to be read by somebody with no prior context. So you may find that to get better feedback on the overall vision of something, a one sheet might be the best way to convey all the essential beats of the story to them. But I don't have it on this checklist. You can see here, just because I consider it kind of an optional step. It is the advanced step from when you're ready to take your work and your career to that next level, I guess I would say. So be, reading consistently. I recommend 3 scripts a week. You can find time for 3 scripts. It doesn't take too long to read one. 1 would be the minimum. Always be reading something, whether it's a script or a novel if you're mostly working on a novel. But if you're writing features and TV, you should be reading features and TV. That is the real secret to this. Okay, let's talk plotting, and then we will get into arcs. I have a little bit of exercise, and oh god, we have a million slides we could do today. I'm gonna just kind of see what we have time for and probably play it by ear, just given that we have like a million things on scene work. Wow, we really do. There's like 70 slides. Okay, but in any case, the goal for next time is to finish your scene cards. So we'll start with this preview. And also read a spec script from the Blacklist, Hitlist, or other professional, spec list of some kind. Maybe something in the same genre or world as your project. It's up to you. But I would always have something on the docket. Okay, so moving from story beats to scene cards. Story beats is about 3 pages of bullet points that are denoting the major beats and arranging a structural sequence for your story to follow. Usually we label the beats as well, and you can include some page numbers if you want, but you don't have to. Moving ahead into scene cards means that you are now amplifying and expanding that outline drastically into a full paragraph or a full card for every single scene. That's the basics of what we're doing on the technical level, but on the sort of like on the surface, we're doing something that we have seen a million versions of or been hearing versions of our whole life, which is storytelling, right? So today we actually have to kind of get into this idea of storytelling. So plotting is is like a step and a component of storytelling where you figure out what the story is before you tell it, or before it is received by the reader or viewer. It's the difference between improvised and staged or non-improvised work, right? So improvised work, there is no plotting. So you skip that step entirely. And role-playing is, in certain other forms, are a mix of both. There is plotting, and then there are improvised elements that can alter the plot. Sometimes even with plotted things, that plot can be altered. Thinking back to the Shakespearean tradition of the audience affects the show, right? In which there is a consistent plot, but the audience sometimes is getting bored, so the performers would just move ahead to the next scene. Or the audience really loved the scene, so they would just do it again. And just how they loved it a second time, do it a third time. It's really cool looking back at those older traditions and thinking how we sort of found ways to replicate that. Like what, the instant replay? You liked it so much, you see it twice, right? You see it 3 times. You see the football tackle or Jackie Chan kick a guy in the face and knock him off the roof. We see it 3 times because it's awesome to see something again that we just loved, right? So you can see all these ways that plotting tricks and storytelling techniques have evolved. And the more that you study the history of this, I mean, I can turn into a total drama nerd about this. I came primarily from stage type traditions. I, ran a theater company in college and mostly was writing plays for those formative years. But in any case, the point is that we're using also the similar trick of trying to maintain attention. And whether you're maintaining attention by doing the scene again, or whether you're maintaining attention by gripping the audience with a particularly strong, like urgent opening, or you're finding other ways to like keep and grab that very difficult to grasp thing. I'm doing it right now. You guys are the audience, and I'm consistently trying to grab and maintain that attention. And it's very difficult to assess that over the internet, as you may know. But like if this were in person, I could see who's looking down, who's drifting off, and I would know. No, just kidding. I wouldn't be mean. Would I? But in any case, so it's sort of like we are considering the audience's attention to be one of this invisible audience that we are not with, and we do not know who it will ultimately be, but we're considering it to be essentially the people that would enjoy this type of movie. You don't have to cater to everybody in terms of your audience, but we are attempting to use many different tricks to grab and maintain that attention as we propel them through a story that will have many other dramatic elements, such as dramatic arguments, cool set pieces, all this other stuff that they will love. But the only way they'll get there to the amazing message that you have to send, or the great theme that you have to convey, or to see that amazing arc that you have in mind, the only way that you will earn the ability to get them there is by maintaining that attention. So you can think of plotting as a couple things. One, it's a way to get your character from A to Z, Z being the ending, A at the beginning. Plotting is how we connect scenes and create that tissue between scenes in such a fashion that they are pieces of connective, architecture, but they themselves are interesting to walk upon. That's like the tricky part of every individual scene, is that yes, they're getting you through the story, but we have to enjoy each moment in its own way. And they can be entertaining in a variety of different ways. The genre promises are going to tell you the main ways. They're the main toolboxes that you'll be drawing from. So I like to think of it as the Rube Goldberg machine. Maybe you guys have seen one of these with the marble that goes down the track, and it encounters all kinds of springs and ramps and clocks and ropes and stacks of dominoes and all these things like this. But often they start very simple with just a marble rolling along the wooden groove until it encounters something like a bowling ball, or like a marble and a bowling ball. How's it going to get past that? And then it taps the bowling ball, and the bowling ball rolls just an inch forward and knocks the bowling pin off the thing, which is tied to a balloon, which lifts it up and knocks the birdcage down and makes the birdcage knock the pool ball down the grooves. And so we're like, oh, that's such an interesting way to get the marble from the left side of that obstacle to the right side. And then, it keeps doing that. We continue to follow that marble until it hits a button. And then we're like, a marble and a blender? What's that going to do? How is it possibly going to get past that? Oh, that's so cool to see how all the tools were in front of me. And I recognize what each one does, but I wasn't exactly sure how that would play out or the way that that would unfold. Is this making sense, guys? How you can think of the marble as that protagonist, that every obstacle they bump into, you should be like, how the hell are they going to get past that? And then they surprise and delight you with the way they do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like almost like to the audience, it's like the marble is like adrift on the ocean, whereas for us in the background, actually, they're on a track. So it's all predetermined, but it has to look like it's all spontaneous and not.
Yeah, that's the big trick. That's the one of the most challenging parts of this, but you've summed up like just storytelling at its core. You have to make it feel spontaneous and organic, and also have a rigid plan for exactly how everything should go. Tough stuff.
We had this conversation earlier in a different class, or like just like a group of us, where I brought up the prestige, like the pledge, the turn, the prestige, as a storytelling element. And to me, it was the three acts. It's like the pledge is this is like the genre promise of whatever movie you're starting to watch. Like it's gonna be whatever. And then you have the turn. It's like, oh wait, it's different than what I expected. And then the third act is like the prestige.
Right,
But
like the trick, like the reveal,
yes, yeah, yeah.
the big stunt. Absolutely. That's a good way to think of it. And yeah, the promise is so important. Like thinking of this is just an ordinary stick, right? You want to, or this is just an ordinary blank. It's just an ordinary box, right? You can touch it. Come on up. That whole part, that part of the magic trick is to say that this is the normal world. This is the first act. This is what you expect these things to do. And then the second act of the magic trick subverts that and has fun with that. And then the third act is the sort of the final turn that says, oh, by the way, none of you were paying attention to you remember the card you picked at the beginning? Open your purse, and then guess what? It's at the bottom of your purse. That's kind of like the final stunt that leaves them breathless and going, how the hell did they pull that off? Not every movie has to have some mind-blowing reveal or trick, but it is a fine way to envision plotting. Okay, so that's what we're talking about in terms of plotting, how to get that marble from thing to thing, having it bump into that thing, and at first we're like, how is it going to get past that? A marble cannot get past a blender, and physically cannot pass, and then it hits a button, and then does something unexpected, and gets to the other side in an interesting way. Also, along the way, we are moving characters down their arcs. You could think of those grooves of their Rube Goldberg machine as their arc in many ways. What's a character arc?
Where they start and where they finish, and sort of the change that occurs from how they start to how they finish.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good way to sum it up. It's the refers to the way that the character changes over the story. Absolutely. The arc, the trajectory. Let's look at some over here. Whoop. Some of these are, I just picked this off an image search, so I actually haven't even seen Moana, so I'm not sure what exactly that arc is. Marley and Me, yeah, as if I'm going to watch a dog dying movie. But in any case, you could see some obvious ones. The Grinch, to me, is a very, very clear one. Let's maybe start with Grinch. Everybody can get into Grinch. There's no dogs dying. There's only a cute dog that gets endangered and slightly abused a little bit.
Yeah, so he started off being right and correct, and then he ended being wrong and incorrect.
Okay, by some points of view, you could see it that way. So let's look at the arc just in images, though. What do we see here?
I think Conrad's trying to say something, but you're muted, Conrad.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm actually not. No. I have nothing on the Grinch. Please go on. I only have something about Sam Morales of Spider-Man. I'll wait my turn.
Okay.
Well, everybody knows the Grinch. Look at him, he's grumpy, but then his heart was 3 sizes too small, or sorry, 2 sizes too small, but then it grew 3 sizes by the end.
Mm-hmm. Causing all kinds of medical problems, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Gotta watch out for that. So the arc is how we go from grumpy, mean, horrible guy to, well, I mean, we don't really show this, but his heart grows big, and therefore he's happy and fulfilled, and he learns about generosity and kindness, and the idea that joy is best, you can best gain joy by sharing it with others, basically. All the Christmas lessons. But in order to get from A to B, or from A to Z, in this case, your character needs to have their beliefs challenged. And we think of this as like the upside down world of the second act, the crucible of the story. We're going to put them through the fire and the test to assess those values and ask, well, do you still have that value? How about now? How about now? Are you willing to change now? We're sort of pushing them up to that brink where they're forced to either basically change or die, or change or lose part of themselves, or change or not achieve some big goal. So movies, especially, like, are about these biggest events in your characters' lives in which they become the sort of person they're destined to be. If it's a long-running franchise or something like that, maybe they go through multiple arcs over the course of it. It's potentially possible. And if it's a flat arc story, which we can talk about in a bit, then your character doesn't necessarily need to have them at all. But Western storytelling is largely centered on protagonist-focused stories that take us from A to Z arcs. A lot of the most famous stories are going to be A to Z arcs, meaning your character becomes almost sort of the poster child for the opposite of what they used to believe. Okay,
Like green
let
eggs
me
and
pause here.
ham.
Go ahead. Like green eggs
I
and
said
ham.
like, yeah.
So that one, if I remember correctly, there's a guy that's like, I don't want to try new things. And his friend is like, but you really should. And then he offers it a bunch of different ways. And eventually to make him shut up, he's like, fine, I'll try it. And then he likes it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. But in order to get there, we have this sort of fun of, what is it? Would you like them on a plane? Would you like them on a train? Would you like them here in France? Would you like them on my pants? Whatever it is. So I don't think he says on my pants. That is not how that goes. But anyway, yeah, we go through this. The premise scenes of that are Sam I Am just cooking up a bunch of different variations on green eggs and ham, I guess. Did they ever do a movie of that one?
I don't know.
They probably did.
They probably done like an animation or something like that. I'd imagine, but maybe not like.
Mike Myers wasn't the Grinch guy. I don't know if it's the same movie, but yeah.
Jim Carrey was the
Yeah.
Grinch. You're thinking of Cat in the Hat. Mike Myers was Cat in
God
the Hat.
damn it.
Yeah. I've seen the Cat in the Hat movie. It's a fever dream, but it has weirdly great cinematography. I believe it's
I love the Cat in the Hat movie.
it is like doing drugs. It is so bizarre. But what do you expect with a live action adaptation? It's like if you're doing a live action, it's going to be really weird.
I know Moana. I'm a
Okay.
big Disney freak.
Tell us about that one.
So Moana starts off, she's the daughter of the chief. So she has this like expectation that she will stay and serve her people, but the sea is calling her, and that's what she wants. She wants to go and be an explorer, and she feels like that's who she's meant to be. So at the beginning, she kind of has this thing of I have to choose between who I want to be and who my people need me to be. There's a whole song about it, where she's like, "Why can't I be the perfect daughter? But I come back to the water." Yeah, it's a whole song. And
Can I ask, what do they need her to do? They want her to like govern or something like that? What do they want her for?
yeah, basically she's training to take take over after her dad. These are wayfarers. They're the Indonesian wayfarers, but too many people died when they went and explored the waves. So they now stay on their island and they never leave their island. But she's got this magical gift with the water. She sort of communicates with the sea. Yeah, Polynesian. And she feels a drawing to the sea. And her dad is like, "No, you are my daughter, you will stay here, you will like do what we've always done, which is, look after ourselves on this island." And she can't do that. She's fighting to do what's expected of her, but she keeps being drawn back into the water. And then she finds out that her people were actually these wayfarers. And
Oh wait, she didn't know that at the start. That sounds key.
yes, yeah, at the start she didn't know that.
That's
And
huge.
she finds out. Yeah,
Now I get it.
yeah, she finds out that is what we were always meant to be. So she's the one that has to restore the heart of an ancient god, Tafiti, in order to save the island. So she has to go into the water and save this heart, otherwise the island will be destroyed.
Oh.
So the whole story is her learning that who she is meant to be was exactly what her people needed her to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
So
I guess it's
yeah,
sort of saying that the current generation in charge has become too complacent, kind of thing. They're playing it too safe, like they've forgotten their
yes,
cultural roots, and like the soul of this culture, you're saying, is that exploration, and that's what she sort of
yes,
rediscovers, or like allows the tribe to rediscover.
yeah.
Got it. Makes perfect sense.
And while she's doing the journey, so that there's stuff in the middle, she meets Maui, who's like one of the gods, but she starts having self-doubt about whether she should have gone into the sea. The deeper in the sea she goes, the less control of the water she has. She loses her heart, like she's like, I'm not the person to do this. Even to the point where she's she's got this heart that she has to give to the goddess, but she puts it back in the ocean. She rejects her identity, she rejects her calling. And then she realizes that by putting the heart in the water, that was what was needed. And she realizes that, like, no, this is her. She has this connection with the water. But during the course of the
Titanic,
during yes, yeah.
right?
But during the course of the story until up until that point, she's got all these doubts. She's dealing with uh this god who kind of puts her down a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah, they have kind of like, is it like a brother-sister kind of dynamic with them, or is it more of a romance with them?
it's definitely a brother sister. There's no romance at all. And he's a god, he's a demigod, so he's like all up himself, and she's like, yeah, I don't care, like,
Okay. I think I get it. So I should have people do this more. You have to pitch me an existing movie. That's actually a good way to sort of like work out the like certain elements of the plot. Because at the beginning I was like, wait, what's the arc? If they already know that they're an explorer culture, why would they be denying that? But if they've sort of suppressed that in a way, or they've like at least
Yeah.
not taught her about that, or maybe is it because she's a girl, or no, or like is it sort of the Mulan thing where we don't want you to go out because you're a girl?
No, it's all of them. They've all like blocked it out. When she
Okay.
finds the old Wayfarer ships, they're all sort of dusty and old. They've been
Okay.
locked away. And we find out that her dad, when he was younger, went to go out and explore,
Of course.
and the wave attacked and killed his friends.
Yeah, there's
And
always a beat like
won't
this. There's a beat just like
Yeah.
with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new one, where Splinter, early on, had like tried to take the turtles out into the world, but then people all laughed at them and like thought they were freaks and mutants and stuff. So he retreated to the sewers, never again to sort of, like enter
Yeah.
the real world and live among the normals or whatever. So in stories like this, there's almost always a beat where we see the parents have a really good reason for being incredibly restrictive or protective of their kids. A lot of I mean, Superman kind of has this element to it. A lot of stories
Mhm.
have this thing where the parents will have like Finding Nemo is another example. It's like, oh yeah, you've got this huge
Yeah.
trauma. Your family got massacred, so now you don't want your last surviving kid to be taken away, kind of thing.
Disabled kid as well, like that.
Right, right. So it makes total sense from a parent's perspective, right? Anyway, thank you for taking us through that arc. That makes a lot of sense, and I totally understand the dramatic argument of it. Um, it
If you
it
get
helps
a
that
chance,
Disney movies are really clear about it. Go ahead.
like I say, literally has a song. It tells you their wants in their song.
Yeah.
They have the I Want song. And if you get a chance to watch it, I think it is one of the better Disney movies of the recent era.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out. The fantasy creatures seem cool. I've seen some of the songs. I just haven't watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe because I worked at summer camps, and when you work at summer camps, then these movies are just on all the time, and you're just like, I don't want to watch
Oh
that.
my God. I remember doing that. Yeah.
I've seen Shrek 2 like 45 times. It is a banger, though, to be fair. That is honestly maybe the best one. Okay, character arcs are a huge part of plotting. I know I'm not even caring that much about the slides in this class today, but this is good. I think we should really think about arcs in terms of that beginning, that middle, and that end. How is the like if your character is stuck in a kind of stasis, what is the source of that stasis? What is that coming from? Is that coming from themselves, their own doubts? Is it coming from their culture, the structures that they live within? Is it as simple as your character is in jail and wants to be out of jail? We're looking for what those walls are in the first act. So we want to know what your character wants, what's standing in the way, why can't they have it? Character arcs are going to be the ways that they change to ultimately get that thing, or in some cases fail to get that thing, or in some other cases decide they want something else and kind of abandon their original goal. But in any case, they're always in that conversation with that initial goal and that initial want. Features have to really be focused around a few stronger motivations rather than TV shows. Excuse me. and books which can feature much broader ensembles with much more complex interlocking motivations. But features like we like to boil it down to that logline because if you can't express it in that one simple sentence, then often what you've got is a little too complicated. So arcs can be positive, negative, or just entirely flat. But the basics of it are your character starts with a certain belief. Sometimes this is called like their misbelief about the world, about themselves. Um, and your character has that belief challenged or tested. And then by the end, they believe something else. Um, and that can be a fundamentally very positive or very negative story. In fact, you can take away like completely different interpretations of stories depending on how the audience, like they will sometimes read this in a way you intended. Sometimes they will read it in a way you didn't intend. I recently saw an interesting thread of just like, what are some weird takeaways you've seen people walk away with from movies? And although I can't remember any specific examples, I remember just being stunned by some of them being like, how could you possibly take that message away? Like that message only makes sense if you are discounting certain scenes or something like that, right? So you can't always rely on that, but at least you can do your very best to communicate the central dramatic argument of your story through the central character arc. That's the way that we usually envision this. You take your protagonist from a place of ignorance to the central theme, and then they learn the theme by the end in a way that doesn't feel like it's being yelled at the audience. That's the challenge of it. So it's tough. It can be tough to communicate a theme, but the best tool that we have are, I think, of the experience your character goes through. Are they happy and fulfilled at the end? Did they accomplish their goal? Did they not accomplish their goal? What does it mean for them and for the world? Let's think of some positive arcs. Why is American History X on here? I mean, that one has a positive arc in it, but ultimately that was, I think, on the list of movies that have been really misinterpreted. So I'll take that one off for now. I do think that
That's a
movie
little problematic.
it is. I think it's a great movie, but it has been misread. Like some people have somehow taken the opposite themes away from it. I don't get it. But anyway, let's stick with just really clear positive arcs to begin with.
Can we go back to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
Sure. Is that the sequel? I didn't watch that one. Tell us about it.
No, it's the first one. It's the first one. It maybe it's going back too far. Like it's on the same slide as the Grinch, the one
Okay.
just
I'll
before
just bring
that.
up a new image for it. That's okay. Go ahead.
It is so Spider-Man himself, he's just like a loser kid at school. He's a nerdy kid who can't like get a girl, what have you, and his dad is a cop, and like he's like against Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the most evil thing of all time. And then his uncle is like, hey, like let's go and like tag some stuff in the subway, and he gets bit by the spider, and then like he just finds like his whole way into like a totally different universe. So he's aligned with his uncle, who's an evil person, and he's against his own dad, who's a good guy, but he's like against Spider-Man. And he finds like a whole host of other spider people, and then he just becomes a hero. And the craziest part, this is not anything to do with filmmaking, is I don't know if you noticed, but most of Spider-Man is like his character is shot on twos. So it's like he's like a staccato type of character animation. Once he actually gets his powers and gets his confidence, he's shot on ones. So his character movement is smoother.
Oh, you mean the frame rate? Yeah, yeah. That movie did a lot of cool tricks with frame rate and different art styles. Thank you for that description. And if I remember correctly, doesn't this start where he's already a superhero? It's not an origin story, right?
I don't think he has it quite yet. He gets bit by the spider when he's in the subway with his uncle. Like
Does
he's
he?
spray painting stuff in the
Oh,
subway.
okay. I
Yeah.
can't. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one where uh a different. There's so many Spider-Man at this point. I can't keep them straight, I guess. In any case,
So
maybe this one is more of an origin story. Go ahead.
it does. So it starts with Peter Parker already being Spider-Man.
Oh, that's
And
right.
that's the whole thing because
I
they
forgot
keep
about
going
that.
through like I'm like, oh, I'm the one and only Spider-Man, and this is my story, and we get taken through each one each time, kind of thing, as we
That's
meet
right.
them.
It's like a different version. Everyone has like a different version of the origin story. But it does have that element of, yeah, there's a Peter Parker character that is the Spider-Man that we're already familiar with. God, this movie's complicated. It's a miracle that it all works. I didn't see the sequel, but this one was good. I can't even imagine writing the script though. I mean, good lord. So many characters, so much going on. Okay, any more positive arcs you guys can think of?
Yeah. the coach in a typical sports movie. So
Okay.
he's
Tell us an example. I
he's
don't really
like
watch sports movies.
he's
Bad enough those.
drunk and he's maybe let's do the Mighty Ducks
Okay.
or Cool Runnings. But this also applies to like Shaolin soccer. This applies to
Oh, the
everything.
good ones?
So
No, just kidding.
yeah.
Sorry.
All
Not
right.
a sports guy. Go ahead.
So here we go. Emilio Estevez. He's his childhood dream of being a hockey player was crushed, and now he's a drunk and a loser and a sellout and a lawyer. And um, when he gets a DUI, he's forced to coach a little league hockey team, and that reignites the passion for hockey in his life, and he turns his life around and becomes a good person. And
Oh,
this is like
okay. I think I get it.
every sports movie.
This sounds
Like
sort of like the School of Rock community kind of thing where it's like the
yeah,
burnout is forced into a leadership position and then that reinvigorates that
exactly.
love of the game. I get it. Totally makes
That's
sense.
very much like School of Rock.
Yeah, this is a fun genre. School of Rock has that extra tension too from he's not even supposed to be there. Like he's impersonating his roommate, so you get some great extra conflict from that, which adds a layer of tension that otherwise, the movie might feel sort of low. It might feel a bit easy otherwise, I guess. Okay, thank you for that example. Yeah, sports stories in this whole genre is intended. These are typically pretty motivational, so they're going to follow positive arcs on characters that begin down in the dumps, but by the end, they uh, they find triumph in some kind of way. Most
A lot
movies,
of
I would
rags
say,
to
are
riches
go ahead.
as well.
Yeah, rags to riches genre. Except if it's a tragedy, then there is the sort of let me think of what's an example of a rags to riches story. Oh, like Annie.
Yeah,
Annie is a rags, like the definition of rags to riches. And often this does have a beat where they are at risk of losing the riches, but then they end up, something better happens that they get to either keep them anyway, or they end up with a family, which is sort of like the thing, the better riches in any case. Sometimes
yeah.
they just
They
get to keep the riches though. I think at the end of Holes, he
usually
just
they
gets
have to
rich.
learn like that X, Y, or Z is more valuable than money, and that's the magic key that unlocks all the money
Yeah,
by the end of
exactly.
the movie.
That's the whole fun of it. You get it both ways.
Yeah.
And then we have the Scarface rags to riches, which is a
Oh
different
yeah.
version of the rags to riches arc where the character becomes corrupted by the riches and then has a tragic downfall. I don't know again why people
Walter
seem to
White.
idealize this character for some reason, even though it is very much a movie about the cost of power and things like this, where yeah, okay, he shoots some guys in his mansion, but he like is miserable in his giant mansion. His sister gets shot right in front of him. His mom hates him. Everybody hates him. He's going crazy. He's getting violent and paranoid. And he ends the movie drowning in his own pool after getting shot. Like, and some people are like, "Wow, such riches, such extravagance. I wish I could live like that."
Money and power, and he's also just a terrible person. Like,
Yeah, he's an basically eager murderer. He's a bad guy. He's a domestic abuser. Shouldn't have him on a t-shirt, but at the same time, uh, you can see how the movie builds an arc that, or builds a dramatic argument that sometimes if the audience responds to something well enough, they won't quite like the dramatic argument. They'll pick something they like better. Anyway, we can't really control how the audience responds. We can only do our best to create the message that or to craft that argument as best we can. IB, did you want to speak? Go ahead.
Well, I'd say it's like how some people have idolized the character in American Psycho, um, and sort of how people sort of really sort of like Walter White, and it turns how they're like really against Skylar because she isn't going along with him, and I think that it is sometimes just the main character. We sort of latch onto the main character um, if
Sure.
they're interesting or charismatic enough and ride with them to their doom.
Yeah, people
Unfortunately.
are really blinded by coolness. Like if something is cool enough to them, then they'll forgive almost anything else in service of that thing because they're watching a show or movie. It's not real life. So yeah, they can be really drawn in by certain stuff like that, even if you're trying to sort of portray it as repulsive. certain people have brought up issues with shows like Euphoria because of this as well. And it's like the show is definitely showing that drugs are bad. It's never really saying drugs are good, but it does show very hot people doing them in very cool ways. So that can kind of like affect people's minds, right? Like that can like if you make it look awesome enough, certain audience members will just gravitate to whatever it is, no matter what the consequences in the narrative are. So let's look at negative arcs. We were just talking about some of these guys. What's an example of a negative arc? And what is a negative arc?
Like you said, it's a downfall. They start positive, like, Mr. Chips and Walter White's case, and they end negative. He becomes Scarface. It's a downfall. They're the characters in Requiem for a Dream. Oh, we have a dream. We have these bright futures, and they fall down a pit of addiction, and in the movie, miserable and alone.
Right. And these, I think, really only do work if you have that tension of they could have something better. Like there needs to be like an option that they're just not able to take. And then the point of the story is usually why don't they take that option? Is it society that gets in the way? Is it their own emotions that get in the way? Is it love that gets in the way? Whatever it is. Go ahead, Becky.
I was going to say Shakespeare does this quite a bit with his tragedies, where it's kind of really easy to down for Macbeth. Macbeth starts off as being he's the king's favorite. He's given all these awards, and then the witches come along and feed him these ideas of like greater ambition. And it's actually his wife that drives him to murder the king and everything. But like it's the message of that is that it's the evil of ambition. Like he could have been happy where he was and could have been amazing and had a wonderful life, but because of this like ambition to be king, he commits murder, and then when gets what he wants to be king, he's spending his whole life looking behind him for who's going to kill him because that was one of the things they said you would be, murdered. So he becomes the villain that he didn't need to be.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge part of a lot of these tragic downfall kind of arcs. A recent one was The Substance, which I thought had a really clear, very easy to understand dramatic argument, which is about an aging actress who considers herself past her prime. She's not getting the best roles anymore. And in an effort to stay in the spotlight and to stay feeling important and like worthy, she starts taking this experimental medication that basically the more she does, she turns into a horrible monster. She has many opportunities to turn back. Uh, Again and again, she calls them on the phone and is like, the substance isn't working. And they're like, well, do you want to stop? And she's like, no, I don't want to stop. And that's the point, that she gets those opportunities to turn back and to turn away, but she decides again and again that the cost is worth it. It's making me more and more of a monster, but I want this fame, I want this popularity so bad. That's how a cautionary tale kind of works. You have to have a character that wants something relatable to us, and we have to kind of get what they want, but they want it too much. And because they want it too much, for instance, then it becomes their ironic downfall. Good movie there. Enjoyed that one a lot.
You can also have both,
Both what?
like a positive and a negative arc in the same
Okay.
movie.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. You can feature some characters getting what they want and becoming happy and fulfilled. Some don't and end up totally miserable. You can mix and match that however you please. But I guess I would mostly calibrate it around your protagonist.
Dead Poet Society.
I haven't seen that one actually, but I think I know most of what happens in it just due to
Oh,
cultural reasons.
there's a very positive arc and a very negative arc for two characters in the same class in that movie, in Robin Williams' class.
Right. Usually contrasting arcs like that will be used to juxtapose each other on purpose and be used to say like you like the and often there will be a third character in between those two. But it's like which route do I go? Do I become more like that or do I become more like that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it is.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, how about flat arc? We'll finish off our arcs and we'll get on to our exercise after this. Then we'll get a little more into
Oh, it's
cards.
favorite.
Okay, flat arcs. Go ahead, Becky.
Yeah, flat arcs are like everyone else changes around the person. So I see you've got Forrest Gump there. He doesn't change, but he makes everyone's life better. Or like uh I forgot the name of the film. Back to the Future. You know, his character doesn't really change, but everyone else sort of changes around him.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Marty McFly?
Yeah,
I guess
he
that's
changes his
true.
dad. He
Yeah, he
makes
doesn't
his
really
dad.
change his motivation exactly. He is pretty much the same guy from beginning to end, but it's more about his dad's arc. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, he affects his dad's growth.
I think
So
Marty's arc
like,
is sort of it's more about learning something than it is about actually changing in a big way. Like I think he comes to understand his parents better and like why they are the way that they are. And like I think he comes to see over the whole franchise like how I cannot be like that or like how I should avoid why I should avoid being like that. But you're right that Marty's arc is like not the focus of the movie.
yeah, he changes people around him. I think there was another one, I can't remember what it was. For some reason I got Billy Elliot in my head, but I don't think it's that. There was another one where the whole point is that they don't change.
Paddington.
They
Paddington's
Paddington.
a good one.
yeah. Paddington 2 is a major one for that because he ends up in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Spoilers. He doesn't change, but he changes all the prisoners around him.
Right. Yeah, usually those stories will work if your character has a bunch of there's a couple ways to do it. One, they have a bunch of opportunities to change, but they maintain their morals and values in the face of it again and again. We were talking about the religious genre yesterday, which has a lot of this, like characters that again and again are tested, and again they refrained, and they're tested again and again they refrained, or whatever it is, right? They again overcome the test, however that makes sense for your story. And then there's also the sort of iconic characters that are never really pressured to change, but they team up with someone that has more at stake. And then you lead a little bit more towards the style of plotting within pulp writing called Man of Action, Woman of Emotion, which is a needlessly gendered old trope. But you've seen many examples of this probably. It's like the action movie thing where the woman of emotion is the character that has more invested. Think of Rachel Weisz in The Mummy, right? It's actually she's the Egyptologist, she's the archaeologist. It's her career at stake. It's her discovery. Rick is initially just along for the money, or the treasure, right? And so they both sort of have interesting arcs there. Rick's arc really being kind of small, but it actually is significant at the end. That moment where they don't end up with all the treasure they wanted. Jonathan's like, I guess we're leaving empty-handed. We didn't get the treasure, right? And Rick sort of looks to Evie and says, I wouldn't say that. So that's the treasure. She's the treasure that he found. That's kind of the idea. It's not huge, but it's the sort of Han Solo thing of the lovable rogue that initially pretends to be a greedy jerk, but really, once they fall in love with the right person, then they're gonna like show their softer side. That's another really common pulp archetype of the guy that pretends to be all gruff and is like, whatever, princess. But by the end, guess what? He comes back when you thought he would leave. Okay. And sometimes the characters are tempted to change, but then they don't for some reason. That can be equally interesting. All right. So let's do Honey Heist. I love the art for this, so I just wanted to do a little bit more with this. We're gonna think of what could be a positive, a negative, and a flat arc. What do we see here? What do we think Honey Heist is about just without even looking at the logline?
Bunch of bad news bears.
For sure. What do you guys think?
They're
What happened in this one?
they're stealing the honey from the Overlook Hotel.
Oh, the Overlook Hotel. Where did we get that? Honey Heist,
Look at the
Overlook.
background.
Oh, okay. I think it's supposed to look like a honeycomb, probably. But good
Yeah,
catch.
but it's that exact floor pattern
You're
from
right.
The Shining.
Yeah, maybe they are robbing.
Oh my god.
Overlook.
Holy shit, it is.
Maybe that's the inspiration. All right, so let's look at my logline that I cooked up for this one. Who wants to read this?
Paddington meets Ocean's 11 when a greedy honey farmer devastates the forest. A slick talking bear, retired thief, must gather his old team for one last job. Take down the company and save their home.
Not the most original, maybe, but does it make sense? Is everything there? What do you guys think? Anyone confused about the basics of the plot?
No, I think it's got everything, and we have her sort of, grizzled old team leader archetype.
The retired thief. Yep, that's how we start to figure out what the arc might be. Think of who are they at the start of the story. All right, let's think of some arcs. What's an example of a positive arc that could play out in this storyline?
You start as a greedy honey farmer, and then what happens to you after that?
Oh, you're centering it on, you're framing the protagonist as the farmer. You could do that. Okay, so if we let's think of it from the
I'm
farmer's
not.
perspective. We could. Don't tempt me with a good time. What do you
What's the
think? How would it
honey
work from?
farmer do?
Yeah, this innocent
Okay,
honey farmer who's just desperate to pay off his, mother's medical bills, and these stupid bears keep stealing all the honey. Like we could easily flip it.
So what he hates bears at the beginning, and at the end he loves bears, and he makes like a honeybee bear sanctuary thing.
There we go.
no, he learns to
Okay.
make peace with his greed. He learns that greed is bad for him, and he finds out the love of family and friends by the end of it.
Oh, so he
There we
doesn't
go.
need money anymore, so he's like, I'll just let my mother die. No,
Oh,
just kidding.
yeah.
Love
Oh
with friends.
shit.
Yeah, no. The love of his friends means that he finds that some of these bears have certain abilities that he didn't know about, where they can actually they know some medicines that can help his wife. So, it's not always the solution isn't always money. Sometimes it is making friends, and these friends have some abilities.
Okay. Or maybe he could just have them do a heist for him rather than introducing the healing thing. Maybe we work together. We heist someone even worse than me.
I think
That's not an arc.
I think the team has a lot of potential arcs. Like, uh, the littlest bear, he's upset because he's small, but then by the end, they need him to like crawl through the tiny hole, and he becomes proud of being small. Or the
Okay.
panda is, upset because he's not vicious like the other bears. But then he learns to become vicious, or he learns that being soft and cuddly is actually an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, his cuteness is what wins him over, because they need to distract someone, and he can be the cute distraction. So therefore, like, he doesn't need to be vicious. He can be the distraction.
Okay, yeah, this is the sort of Wizard of Oz thing of every character has one key thing they're missing or that's wrong, and then along the way, each of them comes to a sort of test where they then prove that they either have that trait they're missing or that they don't need it.
Yeah. It's
That
also
could definitely
heavily
work.
used in Sentai, which fits a lot of these. Sentai also has flat arcs, but it
Right.
has a lot of those, and sports movies as well.
Let's think of a negative arc, and let's frame the protagonist this time as the slick talking bear, so the team leader.
Okay. Maybe one of the
Bears are-
bears is too greedy, and he tries to steal honey from the rest of the group, and he gets stung by bees.
This is the protagonist?
Oh, you want the
Oh, look,
protagonist
yes,
to have a
with the
negative arc?
protagonist. Yeah, yeah,
The protagonist with a negative arc?
yeah.
Slick talking
Uh,
bear.
okay, I guess we could give that to the protagonist, but
So
um,
if you mean he's too greedy, as in maybe we have we steal the honey, but and we have the opportunity to say that's enough. Like it's time to go home, it's time to turn back, but he just can't.
but
That
he
kind of
wants
thing.
more. He
Mm.
wants more, so he goes off and gets stung to death by bees.
Damn.
Or, he lets his team die, because, or he lets his team take the fall. So he literally drives away with all the money while his team go to prison.
Oh my
Oh,
god, you guys are so dark.
he betrays them. Yeah, sells them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do a really dark version where the honey company is like, all right, we're gonna have a conversation. We could give you all the honey that you could ever dream of. All you have to do is leave the company alone. And then you could work up to that moment where the leader of that team decides, I just want to take care of myself. Me and mine are what's most important. So the rest of the team, forget about them. They were means to an end. They thought I was a bad guy and they weren't sure if they should trust me. Well, they're right. I am a bad guy. And he could just lean into that. And that could be
I
the ending.
I want him to be a
have a-
slick talking bear working for a honey cartel, and he's just like, you know what? Business is business.
That could work. He
Right.
becomes like an enforcer for the cartel afterward. Wow.
got it.
What is it?
I've got it. He's they they steal from the farmer or whoever, the greedy honey farmer, but the team leader decides like that's not enough. We got to stop him permanently, and so he eats him. He eats the
Okay.
farmer.
So he turns to violence to solving their issues, and maybe as a result, the forest gets carpet bombed or whatever at the end because the government is like, we got to take out these bears. They're a serious
The
problem.
government comes in and with animal control, and they like shoot all the bears because they've gone bloodthirsty.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know.
That's such a brutal ending. You could definitely do that. Yeah. This sort of feels like what's it called?
Their forest gets
Fern
Agent
jumping.
Orange.
Yeah, exactly. They just bombed it. These bears are too big a threat, Mr. President. If we have your permission, all victories inevitably come at a cost, gentlemen. They
Yeah,
just,
I still think the most appropriate ending is stung to death by bees,
yeah.
since we're doing honey.
If it's not the company that's his undoing. It's in fact, nature itself that sort of punishes him. Could work.
The bees would have to sacrifice themselves because they can only sting once, and that's tragic as well. But they're
True.
defending their nest.
So true.
It's double tragedy.
Agreed. Let's think of one more.
This is so dark.
It is. Maybe we can recalibrate a nice palette cleanser with a flat arc. But flat arc doesn't just mean, well, he does the heist and he doesn't change. You have to think of like, well, why? Why would the character not change? Or who are we focusing on? Go ahead.
No, here's the thing, right? He is already reformed. So he used to be the worst criminal ever, but he has already been
Let's
reformed
just
by
call
the
him the
system.
burglar if you need a name to use.
The beggar, okay, the beggar. He is already reformed by the system. So what he wants to do, and I will admit I'm stealing this from a TV show, it's called Leverage and it's awesome. So what he decides to do is he's got these amazing abilities. He wants to get this team together of other people with these abilities and convince them all that stealing from the rich to give to the poor is the best use of their abilities. So he's like saying, hey guys, look, I am reformed. I also have a lot of money from my previous crimes. So, I stashed it all away. Let's do some good in this world. Let's use our crimes to do some good in this world. So he slowly changes the team. So they go into it because they're like, oh, this heist will pay me off forever. It's the biggest heist ever. Yeah, I'm going to do this heist. It's one job and I'm out. And his plan is he's going to change them all into doing things for good people. It is basically the TV show Leverage, and I love it.
Okay, so yeah, that's the more of the episodic version where that's like a story engine, whereby the characters would engage in a lot of different heists and they would remain a team and they would, grow closer together or have different rivalries that played out or like different arcs that played out between them interpersonally over the years. But ultimately, it would be more of the like crime of the week sort of setup. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
but
That's fun.
mostly it's about him turning them into good criminals, the nice criminals.
Makes sense. Okay, go ahead, Luke.
Let's get an outsider character. What if we have just like a wise old sage that's part of the forest, like an owl or something, who just gives sage advice that the bears don't listen to or something until the end?
Okay, that would be you're saying that would be a side character in the story that would have a flat arc?
That have a flat arc. Yeah.
Right, yeah. The sort of mysterious, like what do we call Oracle type of character? Yeah, they often don't have any change at all. They show up a couple times to give your character cryptic wisdom, and then they're on their way. You pump in the what do you call it? The train car thing from what do they call that? I honestly don't know what that's called. From Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Help me out. What's the thing that
Hand cart.
is that what it's called? A hand cart where there's two people on a train track on a small metal car, and you have a handle that you're pumping back and forth to go down the track?
Yes. Yeah,
That's
hand
hand
cart.
cart.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, we can move on from the bear thing. I just wanted to use this as a good example to look at the same story, but think of how we could just make different choices to support different kinds of arcs. You could easily take the heist and have this be a cautionary tale where we shouldn't, have dived too greedily and too deep. You could do this and have this be a triumphant story of the bear reforming all the other forest animals to be a sort of cool team of animal heisters. What do we call those? Thieves, I guess. You could do this as a flat arc where often with this sort of thing, it works best if the main character for a flat arc, if your main character might be like the leader of the team or sort of a specialist that the team really needs or something like that. We need to recruit this guy that's not really going to change that much, but is going to act as our sort of moral driving force for the team or something like that. So those can work well too. But I think it's nice having just a really simple setup kind of down the middle that allows you to examine different choices and different like ways that your character could end up. It's going to require you to maybe swap their motivation, swap their their goal, and change the result, because the ending is going to be that key to understanding the arc and where they ended up and what that dramatic argument ultimately is. Thank you for doing that new exercise with me. We don't have to write up anything there. I'm covering a lot of time just with, I have a million slides left that we could do. I think I want to briefly cover what a scene card looks like, how to format that, just if you don't have that. And then I will open the floor to look at some story beats and loglines if you guys would like to do that today. Hopefully this is the last day for loglines because we want to move ahead into pages very soon, in 2 weeks. Okay, so let's briefly look at scene cards. So this is going to be a document, probably Google Docs. That's what I use, at least. You can use whatever you want, but it's easiest to use a cloud-based one. They don't have to be actual cards, but it's going to be basically a paragraph or a series of paragraphs up to maybe a page for each scene. A page would be a lot of detail, but you can include as much detail as you want. You're already doing the writing. You're already doing the heavy lifting. And this is all to help you avoid that problem of the middle is boring or the middle is getting me stuck and I don't know what to do next. Nothing's really set in stone now, and you're free to come up with cool new stuff. So don't think of this as locking yourself into anything. This is like creating the map for yourself to follow. We can look at, do I have that? I thought I had a link to that right here. Let me bring that up. As I mentioned, this will be about 3 pages, so you can use bullet points. It doesn't have to be incredibly readable by somebody else unless you want feedback on it. In which case, then, yeah, you do have to put that extra work in. Or if you're collaborating with someone, you do have to put the work in to make sure that someone else can understand this. All right, here's my document that I've shown before. So at the top, we have the concept and logline. I have like a few pages of just sketchbook and notes and research. Here's the story beats summary. Story beats being about 3 pages, 1, 2, 3. Each structural section is labeled. And then underneath that, here's the scene cards. So I have a title for each scene. I have the page numbers. And I have a description of what happens in it. That could be between like 1 and, what is this, 4 or 5 paragraphs long. When a new character is introduced, I'll often put them in bold just to help remember where they first show up. It's useful. You can include as much or as little as you need. Sometimes you really get the idea of the scene and you only need 1 sentence. Sometimes you keep having more ideas or you keep wanting to add more and more. And it's totally fine. It doesn't necessarily mean the scene will be longer. It just means that you've put more prep into it. You can see this one's like a pretty big action scene. So you can spend as much space and time as you need on that, but I would say the my average length, what is this? 1, 2, 3, about not 8 to 10 pages long. Okay. Any questions on what scene cards look like or how to format this? I really recommend using your headings on Google Docs to make this table of contents that's interactive, very easy for other people to see the story at a glance and understand it. Okay, if there's no questions about scene cards, we will move ahead. You can go ahead and make that document now if you haven't already. That would be name of project, scene cards, and then the title, include your title, genre, logline, and comps. I usually put those at the top of everything. Often a picture too, if you have a picture that gets you, motivated to work on that project. Reminds you what the tone of that is. And then from there on, you'll be doing scene work, which is figuring out what the scenes are. How do we connect one moment to the next? What are those choices the character is making that are going to move them down the track of their progress and their external goal and the progress of their internal arc, whether it is positive, negative, or flat. We will get more into scene work next week. Okay, let me ask any questions about, let's save questions on scenes for now. Any questions on plotting and scene cards? Anybody struggling or lost or needs extra help? I see a suggestion from Colin on the honey farmer thing. He forms a rival company to stop the honey farmer, the bear, I guess, ends up transforming the forest into an efficient honey farm. There you go. That's a good way to sort of like find that middle ground where it's like we can set up an ethical bee farm where we don't have to, destroy the forest to get the honey.
Just finishing the formatting because Google Drive messed up my formatting. Give me a sec.
All good. Okay. So while Becky's getting ready, I'll just say what we can do in this last half hour is we can work on looking at your guys' outlines if you need to, or log lines. Or you can, if you don't have anything else to work on, maybe just write out your first scene card and you can post it by the end if you want us to take a look. Them's the options, but in any case, here's the homework for next time. Complete your scene card outline and always be reading prospects. So read at least one full prospect from a list. The floor is open. Who would like to work on plotting?
Hey,
I think we already looked at mine. My one pager that's not quite a one pager. It's like 3.
Okay.
Didn't we look at that?
I think so. Yeah. Are you happy with how it's looking?
Yeah. Minus the stuff in Act 3 I'm still fixing.
Okay.
But
Well,
we can do
yeah.
Becky. I think Becky's gonna take up the rest.
I think Shazadi had a question as well.
Yeah, I also had an outline to show. Does it go in the docs assignments channel?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, yeah, so I put mine there too.
Okay. Do you want to start, Shazadi?
Sure, okay, thanks. So I just wanted to go up to from the log line to break into 2 really.
Okay, just first act. Sounds good. All right, is this the newest logline?
Yeah.
Desperate for money after her unionist husband loses his job to automation, a British Caribbean secretary. Oh, you keep changing her identity, trying a bunch of different approaches for that. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
A British Caribbean secretary secretly accepts a high-paying role at the rival plant on the condition she spies on her husband's resistance. His resistance movement?
Yeah, like
Oh.
the trade.
Okay, I didn't quite know about that until the end, though, I guess. I mean, I know you did mention her unionist husband, but after he loses his job, I mean, to me, the point is just that on the condition that she spies on her husband, period. Is that not the case?
Okay. Uh, well, I mean, she is spying on the union more than him specifically.
But is he the leader of that union?
He's one of the leaders, not necessarily the leader.
Oh, okay. The unionist husband loses his job to automation. She secretly accepts a high-paying role at the rival plant on the condition. Something else just a little bit odd about saying she secretly accepts a high-paying role at the. Oh wait, no, I think I get it. She is only allowed that, like they'll fire her if she doesn't do that. I guess you're saying like she's, this is the only opportunity
Yeah.
she has to make the money. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I think I get it. All right, let's look at first act. All right, so her internal needs selfish agency and intellectual fulfillment. What is selfish agency?
I guess what I meant was like um putting her own dreams above her husband's.
Oh, okay. And you're defining that as sort of selfish in a bad way, or are you saying selfish just in the sense of pursuing her own ambition? Like, does the narrative portray that as selfish?
A little bit, but I guess it's better to just say to put her own dreams above her husband's, I guess.
Well, do they have kids?
Yeah.
They do. So does she put her dreams above her kids?
Uh, no, I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, in this movie, her husband's dreams are what's at stake.
I see. Okay. Just trying to figure out what's driving her. Let's read the first act. All right. Joanna Wood, a 28-year-old British Jamaican, wakes up her mother and teenage sister. Is it Dion? Dion? Dione? How do you say this?
Dion.
Dion. Before going to work. They ask why she's in a rush. She says it's her turn to be partner and she has to see Alicia before work. Joanna picks up a new pocket-sized calculator before getting on the train. What is partner?
It was like a British Jamaican banking system, and people would take turns being partner because a lot of them were excluded from the British banking system.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a system that still exists now, but basically people in the community, they would give money into a lead partner, and that partner, they would be kind of, I mean, it's not like some kind of loan shark thing. Like that person was kind of in charge of the community and would lend out the money that other people have contributed.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Joanna picks up a calculator, gets on the train. She visits Alicia Campbell, the partner lead. A pardon is a head banker of the, wait, is this? Oh, okay. Is a head banker of the British Jamaican partner. Oh, this is you explaining it. Often a matriarch, and gives her share of the money for the week. Joanna gives extra, telling her she's been saving more than usual. Alicia insists Joanna keep it for herself and her family. Joanna notices Alicia writing the calculations and gifts Alicia with a calculator, tells her it's a lot faster than doing the math herself. Alicia responds jokingly, "So what? They make my mind slow." Joanna rushes for work. She gets to the switchboard exchange where she works and begins connecting phone lines. Her boss calls her into the office. She gets made redundant, gets told to pack her things and leave. So they're replacing her with some sort of automation machine. Is that right?
Yeah.
That to me sounds kind of like a catalyst. Um, we've shaken up her normal life and forced her to respond, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't know. I felt like the intro needed a bit more context because initially it was just going to start with her meeting her husband,
Mhm.
as you might remember. But yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't know. Like it could just start with her losing her job, and her meeting her husband.
Okay.
But I felt like to make her goal more uh, sorry. To make her goal more obvious, I needed those scenes about the partner system and stuff.
And that indicates that she cares about her community and is sort of like relied upon as a provider.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I get it. So she's on the London Tube home, the district line, with a bitter expression. An Englishman with a Yorkshire accent is 2 seats away and asks why she's so glum. She points to the box on her lap and he asks what she used to, oh, meaning she got fired. He asks what she used to do. She says, Upminster Switchboard Exchange. He reassures her that she'll find something else she loves. She laughs at the idea that she loved the Switchboard Exchange, hinting at the fact that when she was a kid, they thought she was smart enough to start the next Bletchley Park. Don't know what that is. Use hardware slash masculinity versus software femininity subtext here. So can you explain what that is?
Bletchley Park.
Yeah.
That was like have you seen The Imitation Game?
Certain scenes, but not the whole thing.
Yeah, so that was like it was like a group of programmers, and actually most of them were women. Uh and it was a British thing during World War II, but
Oh, the ones
I
that
can't remember
built
when
the Enigma machine that is Bletchley
yeah.
Park? Okay. She says she has a family to feed. He looks at her with disappointment. You're married? She says no. It's her mother and younger sister. He introduces himself as William Norris. It's her mother and younger sister. What does that mean?
As in he's talking about that's her family, not that
Oh,
she's married.
that's all she has, I guess, is what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Montage. They sleep together. He shows her his typesetter after they sleep together and tells her to come work with him. She responds sarcastically, "You mean for you?" And he chuckles and she accepts the offer. They have 2 kids and buy a house together. Okay, so we're moving through quite a bit of time, which takes us. Whoa, what page are we on by now? That felt like at least easily 10 pages.
Yeah, no, I mean the pages. This is the thing. The intro is a lot longer now.
Right. Okay, all good. Just that that felt like 10 pages of content to me. So in my mind, we're now on like 11 to 20 here. So
Yeah.
wait, hang on. We already did this. Oh no, never mind. She wakes up her 2 sons, Darnell and James, 10 and 12. She curiously watches the news about the new Apple Macintosh and its integration into the everyday workforce. She arrives at the Fleet Street office where her husband William's already working in the linotype operating room. He gives her a kiss and asks if she sent the rejection letter to the establishment in response to the severance package for typesetters offered by Murdoch. She says no. Tells him he didn't leave the change behind for Alicia. He apologizes and has a certain indifference about the partner system. She gets back to her desk, administrative work, answering the phone, doing what William needs. He's confident the protest can still win. She passes through the reception where she sees one of the executives eyeing her, later revealed to be Edward Tyrell in Triangle Locks. Okay, quick question. Does she enjoy this work and want to be doing this?
She feels very lukewarm about it.
So being very lukewarm says I really don't want to be doing this, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would establish why. Showcase why. Is it because she doesn't like being subservient to William?
Okay. I mean, I guess I think it's not necessarily super um you know, interesting or intellectually stimulating for her.
I would show that. Find ways to show that. The idea that she is, I don't know, doing calculus, under her desk and she's like, "Hey, can I take care of that problem?" They're like, "No, that's okay. We don't want you taking care of that." Like you have to find opportunities for her to express that she wants more. And then we would see why she is denied that. Thinking of movies like Hidden Figures, which are a lot of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that you may have ideas for those in mind. I just mean to say that in terms of the outline, maybe really clarify those moments.
Okay.
All right, so Joanna, Alicia, and her sister visit the mother in the hospital. The doctor informs them she needs treatment for mold poisoning, which comes at a lot of cost. Alicia offers Joanna the money, but she declines and insists she and William can pay for it themselves. She watches a rally led by William and his close friend and fellow trade unionist Ben Bright. They state they're preparing for the strike at Wapping. Joanna and William have dinner with Ben. They tell Ben about Joanna's sick mother. Ben shows William and Joanna a picture of his sister who died of mold poisoning. Joanna watches William put their sons to bed. He shows them a sketch of the library he plans to build in the hometown with the money he's saving. He likes the idealism of it. He's the dreamer. She has to be the practical one. Then the violent protests happen. Wow, it feels like almost a whole movie has happened already. Like there's so many scenes. I would really think about like where these page benchmarks are going to fall. Like I guess when you move ahead to scene cards, it'll force you to make those choices and like see what fits. But it feels like it's like kind of top heavy, like you're packing too many events in. Joanna's husband William gets arrested. Great catalyst. She picks him up from jail. She's making dinner. He gets home and puts down the envelope that she assumes is a check, only to find out it's a letter from the redundancy pay for the former compositors, typesetters, and operators being withdrawn. It's the opposite of a check. It's saying we're going to stop giving you checks. She mentions Murdoch's new printing plant and says they're hiring new typesetters and compositors for roles around the plant. He angrily interprets this as her suggesting he betray the union and strike break. He says the new workforce is only a tenth of the workers who deserve to feed their families. So does she want to do what he does?
As in to not get a job at this place, or
no, does she want to be a typesetter?
no.
No. Okay.
I mean, actually, she does think, because at the time this was really a respected field of work. So she does think it's really interesting, and it's one of the reasons she likes him, because this was something a lot of really intelligent men did at the time.
Oh.
But yeah, she's not necessarily trying to be one herself.
Why not? Don't you think that would sort of make her motivation stronger if you show that like she actively has an aptitude or an interest in the work, but she's not able to because of the social structure of the husband not allowing her to take on that role? You can say no, but
I mean, I guess
just thought that occurs to me.
I was going more towards the direction of she's quite interested in computers, which are still relative. I'm not going to say new, but like they haven't quite. When she was young, they weren't necessarily. That kind of work was not high level or wasn't considered high level.
Okay, all good. Just a thought that I had. Feels like this sort of story, you typically want something that your character really, a specific thing that your character wants. Whereas it feels like your character is just, like you said, kind of lukewarm. So I would maybe like try to orient her goal around something that we can, like, what is her dream? Like, what does she actually want to happen here?
I mean, I guess I tried to show that in the beginning with like her um meeting the partner leader, and then also even at the beginning showing interest in just like technology, because I know calculator sounds really simple, but even back then like it was like the pocket calculator was quite new, and then obviously in the present the Apple Macintosh comes out and she's really curious about that. I guess I could still make it a bit more explicit.
Yeah, she's curious about it, but what's the problem? Can she not afford it? Is she pressured to not exploring it or learning how it works or using it or something like that?
Uh yeah, I guess it's not these things would have been very expensive, so there's that. And uh yeah, she doesn't do that work herself. Yeah, and she's kind of stuck in this secretary job.
Okay, so yeah, I just try to find a way of showing what does she really wish that she could do? And if it's not what her husband does, then what is it? Is it just having money, like just being independent in that way? Or is it a specific passion or line of work that she's trying to embrace? Okay,
Yeah, I think it's a bit of
good.
I think it's a bit of both.
So a bit of both is kind of a problem for feature storytelling. Pick which is more important. That's how it's kind of, well, you don't have to pick it right now with me. I just mean to say, like as a general rule, if you're like, well, the character is sort of motivated by a couple different things, try to pick one thing that really does motivate them and like have that be the core of it. I got to wrap up with this one just
Okay.
so we have time to get to the last one. But let me move a little quicker through this last page. There's a lot here. Glad to review this more later. So she goes to the office. She's approached by Edward Tyrell, who we saw before, the executive for the printing house, offering her the transfer role with significantly more money. He entices her, mentioning he's heard she has a knack for computers, and shows her the system and how they're hiring specialists. She's fascinated. It's an abstraction of what she did as a switchboard operator. Abstraction. I would think it's a more advanced form of what she did as a switchboard operator, right? Like it's a better version, or like a more complicated version, or a more futuristic version, or something like that.
Well, by abstraction, I mean like um it's doing what she used to do automatically, and you control it with you just control it with high level language. So that's, but yeah, I can change the wording.
Okay. Sexual tension between Joanna and Edward. He hints that he can give her access to ATEX, I think is what this says, if she gives him intel about the trade union and spy on Ben Bright for him. She's infuriated. You want me to stab my husband in the back? Maybe a bit too much happening in the scene, but it's a great content. This almost feels like 2 or 3 scenes. They travel back up north to visit William's family. He now shares his brother and father's grief as they lost their jobs due to closing of the mines in the failed strike. William suggests they move up to Yorkshire. Joanna refuses, noting the disruption it'll have, and says she'll ask Alicia and use her savings to cover the mortgage and bills. Joanna sees Alicia again and asks her to revive her offer for a loan. Alicia asks why. Alicia asks why, period. She tells her William lost his job and she cannot work at the new printing plant in solidarity with William. Alicia scoffs and says, I thought you wanted to be different from mother. Joanna's sister Dion calls her, but it's too late to pay for treatment. The mother dies. At the funeral, Joanna sees her father sitting at the back of the church. He visits and knocks on the door to speak to Joanna, apologizes, and begs her to help him support her and the family now that the mother's dead. She mentions she'd rather take another one of his beatings than take the money and slams the door in his face. Angered after learning that Dion told Marvin about Joanna losing her job and money, Dion tells her it's because she's pregnant. This sounds like a new scene, so I would space this one down. Joanna forbids Dion to take financial help from him, and as she leaves the door, she says she'll be sending her a check each month. Williams organizing resistance with fellow unionists and typesetters made redundant from Murdoch plus Eddie Shaw's reforms, whilst illegally attempting to run a closed shop. Joanna notices that Williams' partner Ben is also corrupt in his own way. She meets with Edward Tyrell again. Okay. So overall notes, this feels like your first act is like a whole movie. I think like, let's just consider that most scenes are on average 2.5 pages long. If they're like, you're alternating basically, one page is 2 scenes, one scene is 2 pages, the next one's maybe 3, then you have like a 1. Ultimately, it adds up to like 2.5-ish. That's like 12 scenes. So in your first, up to
Yeah.
page 25 at least, in your first act. This is like triple that. So I would just is it triple? It's a lot. I didn't count them, but it's at least double that. So I would just give yourself a number of scenes, see what is most relevant and what fits, and what you can get into just that limited of a space. Like write out the bullet points for yourself, then fill them out. It may be that some of this could move to later in the movie. We may not need to fully explore all these conflicts yet. It could a lot more of them could unfold over time. It seems like the basics are she starts in the status of I really need money. She gets this job offer, which you could have this money, but if you do this bad thing, then you break into two as she decides that yes, I accept the job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I see.
Based on your log line, at
Um,
least, that to me sounds like the core story beats in your first act.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there is definitely a lot. And yeah, I need to cut it down. But I mean, I was gonna ask like, because the thing is, obviously with all the features I've written so far, the aim has always been 90 pages. And
Mhm.
I I only went slightly above that with one of them, and then I ended up cutting it down anyway. And I think one of the reasons I was like, oh, maybe this time I can be a bit more nonchalant about the pages is because obviously I see so many spec scripts where they are longer than 90 pages. And I mean, I was gonna ask about that, like uh in terms of I know it's still the weight of each beat should still be the same, but I mean, I guess
Even in a
I was hoping
go ahead.
but I was just to say I was hoping that maybe I could this time like just have a slightly longer introduction and trying the locks and stuff.
You can.
What were you gonna say?
No, you absolutely can. I would just say that even in a longer script, though, typically first act is still around 25 to 30. So that expectation is pretty much there. You can stretch it a bit, but this feels more like 45 to 50 pages to me.
Yeah, I mean it is a lot. Okay. I mean, I guess yeah, I'll just look at how to cut it down.
I'm sure you'll find a way. It's all good stuff. It's just that go back to your log line and look at what are those
Mhm.
core beats as established there. It sounds like desperate for money. That's first act. She is given this job offer, Catalyst. She accepts the job as break into two.
Okay. All right.
See if that works. Thank you for sharing. Hope
Okay,
that's
thank
helpful.
you.
Glad to look at this more in another bootcamp or lab.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Sorry for the taking too long with some of this stuff. We'll go on to Becky if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So, oh, good. Looks like you just got. Oh, never mind. There's more pages than I thought. So this is a story beats for which show?
Yeah, we
Harry
don't
Jackson
have
Hall?
to do, obviously, we're not going to have time to do all of them. But yeah, there's bits that I'm sort of struggling with.
Are these different episodes or are these kind of? These are just
It's the
different.
same episode.
It's the same episode.
Yeah, I just did a 3-act structure. I know TV is normally 5 acts. I can't get my head around that, so I'm just sticking with
That's
3
okay.
acts.
Yeah, you can split it up later. It really depends on the network that determines the commercial breaks and stuff.
The network I'm aiming at doesn't have commercial breaks, so
Well, there you go. But I guess just to keep your options open, it's nice to know where they would be.
yeah.
All right, Act 1, Harwood returns to school. He arrives at the gates, and I think I remember the basics of this. He was a World War I soldier.
Yes, yeah.
And how old is he?
In his late 40s, he worked at the school before, but now that he's come back a war criminal,
Whoa.
a war hero, the governors want to have promoted him to headmaster. So he's always worked at this school.
Okay, and what did he do before?
He was a Latin master and school, deputy head type role.
Oh, deputy.
He
Okay,
was
so
a leadership, but he wasn't a
okay, he
head.
wasn't a teacher.
He was a teacher, yeah, sorry, that's Latin master. Master's
Oh.
a teacher.
Oh, master's a teacher. Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
sorry.
so he would teach Latin and classics, I guess you call it.
Yes, yeah.
All right, Act
Which
1.
was
Go
really
ahead.
the most important subject in the day.
Right. All right, he returns to the school. So he arrives at the gates. Chair of the governors greets him warmly but politically. Deputy head, former acting head, is cold and resentful. Memorial wall is discussed and names of fallen boys. Chair thinks that Harwood is wanting to bring in working. Chair thinks Harwood is wanting to bring in working class boy from Sheffield is a joke. Harwood is serious. The condition is only if he can get a public sponsor. Okay, so I just want to check, how are you breaking this up? Is this like a sequence, I guess, then? These bullet points are like
Yeah,
groups of
it's
scenes?
kind of broken it. Yeah, sort of broken it up into almost like locations.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, just trying to pull apart what I guess these are not the scenes themselves. These are just like ideas that would be in these sections. It seems
Yeah,
like.
I could imagine that this being like they're walking around the school and we'd see things like the first of the electricity being put in,
Oh, good.
um, that kind of thing.
Right. So we're giving the headmaster a tour of his new job site, basically.
Yeah,
All right, and then I would think that the next scene, or scene 2 or 3, would be he proposes the boy, bringing in this
yeah.
boy.
I'm trying to decide whether that would be in a governor's meeting with all the governors or just with the chair. But and I'm trying to decide whether we'll even show that or whether we just jump straight to the Duke. Like I don't know whether we'll show the meeting where he tries to persuade them to let this boy join, or whether it's literally just we jump to the Duke where he's saying, "I've got a proposal. I've got this boy who's passed all the tests." But the governors will only let him in on the condition of a public sponsor because they don't think I can get one. But I know you, like, you know.
Either could work, but I would think just give it a little time. Like it feels like you just started and we haven't quite seen what the problem is. So to think that he's trying to already introduce a solution is a bit tough to grasp. So I would think give it a couple more scenes where he settles into the place and we see what's wrong with it. Is it too exclusive? Too what? Right? Like what is he actually trying to fix? I think we need to see the problems. Does that make sense?
It does. The reason for the boy initially is he promised, he was at war with the boy's father, and he promised the father that he would get the boy into the school.
Oh, what if he promised him I will like help him in some way, but he hasn't decided on specifically this is how yet. So then you can allow that to be a threshold where we decide, okay, I'm going to get you in. Could that work?
Yeah, yeah,
Either a catalyst or a break into two. I think
yeah.
you can have him visit in the first act though, and say like, I promise to help. I'm going to make good on that promise, and then maybe the father's even like, well, where's the check then, or something like that, right? Like you could figure out what that scene is.
The father died.
Oh, he died. Okay,
And as
the
well,
family.
yeah, he died saving the headmaster, which is why the headmaster feels responsible for this boy.
Oh, okay. Also, you could have, the wife blames him, something like that. You could bring out an interesting angle there. So I think have them visit in the first act for sure. All right, hunting with the Duke. Shared grief about the Duke's son Henry, who died during the war. Emotional intimacy hints. They used to be secret partners, but not anymore. Harwood requests scholarship for Elliot Turner, the working class boy. Duke is hesitant. He's been looking for a project to fill his time and make himself look good. He invites Elliot to supper. So yeah, my suggestion would be just don't quite mention the boy thing yet. But you can still make the basis of the scene the same. He's looking for something to fill his time and make himself look good. So establish that first. So give us the problem before the solution.
Right. Yeah.
Elliot meets the Duke, car plus supper, car ride. Harwood coaches Elliot how to act. It's always your grace, never my lord. He's a Duke after all, and he will not make your life easy. Okay, I would just, give a couple more scenes and bump this down just a little bit. Elliot is nervous. This is them bringing him to the school to move in, basically, right? So he's there. It's a boarding school, isn't it?
It is, but this is his meeting with the Duke first to decide if the Duke even likes him.
Oh, right, okay. I see. Makes sense. So the Duke tests Elliot with challenging questions. Oh, great. Okay, so you're not rushing too much. This is good. Elliot admits what he doesn't know. The Duke rearranges the cutlery to see how he'll choose the correct knife and fork. It's a good set piece scene. Duke is impressed with Elliot's authenticity. Elliot doesn't pretend to know things, but he's eager to. Okay, he's quick at memorizing and studying, and he's a quick learner. I guess is the idea. Private heart negotiation. Duke and Harwood. Duke agrees to fund the scholarship only if it's public. Philanthropy. It'll look good with the changing climate, but he wants a seat on the board again. Harwood agrees. Okay, good drama there. Gonna force them closer together. Harwood is home with his wife, discussing the complication of his feelings with the Duke. Revealed to the audience this is lavender marriage. Knock at the door. I mean, we probably already guessing it, but I guess you are just explicitly stating it here.
Yeah,
Knock at the door.
the wife is aware of the fact that he's gay.
Right.
But the wife just doesn't approve of his relationship with the Duke because the Duke is a complicated man.
I see. And she probably has a quote affair partner too, I would guess.
She's asexual.
Oh, there you go. No need. All right, knock at the door. American Harwood. We do have to wrap up. I'll just finish with this page. Oh, which brings us right to the break into two. Looks like. Okay,
Yeah.
so Harwood. Oh, sorry, knock at the door. American knew from the war arrives. He's a former romantic connection. He needs a job. He is a qualified music teacher. Oh wait, so this is another romantic connection. Former romantic connection. Is
Yes, that's
Okay.
going to be the triangle.
Well, love triangle. Okay, you're doing it. Heated rivalry. And yet back at the I don't actually know if heated rivalry is a love triangle. I just assume it is because it's so popular. Like it probably has to be.
Yeah.
So he needs a job and he's a qualified music teacher. Right. He gives them a position, offers them the teaching spots. Love triangle. Okay. School term begins. Students arrive. So wait, quick question. Do they really need a music teacher?
No, it's an option. As
It's an
in
option.
music and art. It's a like a, what do you call it? You guys have them. It's an
Oh,
optional extra
you call
extra
them
credit.
electives.
Electives, that's it. Yeah, it's basically an elective. Like it quickly becomes the most popular teacher, but his lessons start off as a joke.
Okay, so I might ask in this case, is he not supposed to hire anyone? Is this a bad look in some way? Will this cost him something? I wonder.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll make a note of that. Like it is him putting himself out there because not only is he stretching the budget, he's also doing it for what was deemed a frivolous topic at the time.
Sure. And it could be seen that he's putting himself at, or he could see it like this guy is going to be trouble, right? This could put me at risk. I don't want him, stirring things up, or I don't want him like pursuing this relationship in some way with me at the school that's going to like give up the game.
Yeah, and I guess then maybe it's the wife that convinces him to give him a job because she likes him.
Could be. Is he desperate?
The American guy, yeah, very
He is.
desperate.
Okay. I really hammer that home here. I don't quite see that in the outline yet, too. So I'm curious
Right,
as to
okay.
why. Is he in debt to the mob or something like that? How much drama do we have?
Oh, I mean that could be a serious question.
That's
Like,
just turning into Peaky
why?
Blinders, I guess, at a certain point. But
No, it wouldn't be the mob, but why is he so desperate? You're right. Like, what? That could be a question for the
sure,
series.
make it a mystery. Maybe he refuses to say.
And why has he not gone back to America?
Right. I think it's something dark. All right, last part. School term begins. Students arrive. Charles, son of the chair of governors, arrives in an elite motor car. Elliot officially enters the institution, having been picked up at the station. He's awkward and stands out. The experiment is real. Right. Okay. Pretty good act one. I would just move the Elliot stuff a little bit towards the end of this act, like rather than coming into this already with the idea of we know exactly what we want to do with the kid. I would start it more. He returns not knowing exactly what his plan is yet, how he's going to pay off this debt to this guy and his family. And then if we watch him kind of come to that conclusion, I think that we'll feel that threshold more. It won't feel like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
All right, we do have to wrap there. Hope that's helpful for now. Glad to look at the rest later.
Thank you. Not sure when because I'm not awake for your next lab. I'll message you.
We'll figure it out. Yep. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Work on those scene card outlines for next week. Read your reading, do your pro script reading work, and we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye.